The Galactic Council had made many mistakes in their 3,000-year reign over the known galaxy, but none quite so catastrophic as underestimating the species from Sol 3. Ambassador Kethvar of the Zalani hegemony still remembered the day. The humans first petitioned for membership. Small, bipedal creatures with no natural armor, no venom sacs, no electromagnetic manipulation abilities, they seemed laughably primitive. Their technology was crude by Council standards, their lifespans brief, their society fractured into hundreds of competing nations. The Council had accepted their petition more out of amusement than genuine consideration. That amusement had lasted exactly 47 standard cycles. The humans proved troublesome. They questioned everything. They refused to accept because the Council wills it as adequate justification for the countless regulations that governed galactic civilization. Worse, they actually read the fine print of every treaty, every trade agreement, every piece of legislation. They found loopholes, inconsistencies, and outright contradictions that had existed for millennia, hidden beneath layers of bureaucratic sediment. But it was their tendency to protect the weak that truly irritated the Council's elder species. The humans consistently voted against expansion into primitive worlds, objected to the standard practice of harvesting lesser species for labor, and had the audacity to suggest that intelligence tests should not determine a species' right to exist. The final straw came when a human child, barely 12 Earth years old, was selected for the ritual hunt of ascension. Every cycle, the Council selected one individual from each member species' youth to participate in the sacred hunt on Corvan Prime, an ancient tradition where the galaxy's apex predators were released to pursue the chosen across a continental preserve. It was meant to demonstrate the strength and worthiness of each species. Most participants died, as was expected. The survivors brought great honor to their people. The human child, Sarah Chen, was small even by human standards. Dark-haired, quiet, with intelligent brown eyes that seemed to take in everything around her. She had been chosen by lottery, as was Earth's custom, and her parents had protested the selection through every legal channel available. The child is clearly inadequate, High Chancellor Vex Thul had announced during the pre-hunt ceremonies. Perhaps we should select a more suitable specimen. The human ambassador, a stern woman named Harrison, had refused. Sarah was chosen according to established protocols. If you wish to change the rules, you should have done so before the selection. The Council members had exchanged glances filled with barely concealed contempt. Very well. Let the humans learn the price of their stubbornness. The hunt began at dawn on Corvan Prime. Sarah Chen, equipped with nothing but standard survival gear and a ceremonial blade, was released into the preserve alongside 19 other young beings from across the galaxy. The predators, massive, bioengineered creatures bred specifically for their intelligence and lethality, were released 6 hours later. By nightfall, 17 of the participants were dead. Sarah Chen lasted 3 days. The orbital cameras captured her final moments in excruciating detail. Cornered in a narrow canyon, armed only with a crude spear she had fashioned from local materials, facing down a creature 20 times her size. She fought with desperate courage, landing several hits that drew bioluminescent blood from the beast's hide. It wasn't enough. The galaxy watched as the small human child was torn apart, her final scream echoing across Corvan Prime's rocky canyons. The other 2 survivors were rescued according to tradition. Sarah Chen's remains were prepared for ceremonial return to her homeworld. The council expected grief from humanity, perhaps anger, certainly a period of mourning followed by grudging acceptance of galactic traditions. They did not expect silence. For 37 days, Earth said nothing. No protests, no diplomatic notes, no angry speeches in the council chambers. Human ships continued their trade routes. Human diplomats attended their meetings. Human colonies proceeded with their daily business as if nothing had happened. The first sign something was wrong came when the Corvan system's star began to flicker. The stellar engineers dismissed it initially as natural fluctuation, but the pattern was too regular, too precise. Someone was manipulating the star's magnetic field with technology far beyond anything the Council possessed. The fluctuations intensified over the course of a week, causing system-wide communication disruptions and forcing the evacuation of 3 orbital platforms. Then the hunters began to die. The great predators of Corvan Prime had been apex creatures for millennia, bioengineered to be faster, stronger, and more cunning than any natural evolution could produce. They had never known fear, but now, one by one, they were found dead, in impossible circumstances. The creature that had killed Sarah Chen was discovered in its den, its massive frame somehow turned inside out while still living, its dying roars heard for kilometers. The orbital monitoring stations detected no intrusions, no weapons fire, no evidence of how the deaths were occurring. The hunters simply died, often in ways that defied biological possibility, always in excruciating apparent agony. As the death toll mounted, panic spread through the preserve's automated systems. The facility's AI reported impossible sensor readings, gravitational anomalies that appeared and vanished without explanation, temperature fluctuations that violated thermodynamic laws and electromagnetic signatures that matched no known technology. High Chancellor Vexthul demanded answers from the human delegation. Ambassador Harrison looked him directly in his compound eyes and said, "We have no idea what you're talking about." The lie was so obvious, so brazen, that it took Vexthul's translator several moments to process the words. But before he could respond, his aide burst into the chamber. "Chancellor, the Zalani hegemony's core worlds, the stellar engineering platforms around Zelos Prime are failing." The pattern spread. Across the galaxy, the Council's most important installations began experiencing inexplicable malfunctions. Orbital shipyards found their construction nanites turning on their creators. Automated defense platforms began targeting their own fleets. Vast terraforming projects collapsed as their control systems developed impossible programming errors. Nothing could be traced back to human involvement. No human ships were detected near the affected systems. No human transmissions were intercepted. By every measure the Council possessed, humanity was simply continuing their normal activities, while the galaxy's infrastructure spontaneously collapsed around them. But the Council's elder species had not survived for millennia by ignoring obvious patterns. "What do you want?" Vexthul finally asked Harrison during an emergency session. "We want to go home," she replied simply. "The compensation. We want every member of the Council who voted to continue the hunt after we requested Sarah's withdrawal to resign. We want the hunt permanently ended. We want a formal apology to Sarah Chen's family. And we want recognition that the systematic murder of children for entertainment purposes ends today. And if we refuse..." Harrison's smile was colder than vacuum. "Then you'll learn what happens when you make humans grieve." The vote was unanimous. Later, after the treaties were signed and the human fleet began its withdrawal from galactic space, Kethvar would wonder what technology could have allowed such precise, untraceable devastation. Human science was primitive by Council standards. They couldn't possibly have developed such capabilities without detection. It wasn't until years later, when an archived human transmission was finally decoded, that the truth became clear. The message had been broadcast on the day Sarah Chen died, sent from Earth to every human colony, every human ship, every human research station scattered across the galaxy. They killed our child. Mathematics is a universal language. Show them. What happens when engineers get angry? Kethvar had forgotten that humanity's greatest strength was never their weapons or their ships. It was that they never fought alone.